Thank you, Asher, and thank you to everyone who's been part of the organising team. It's very beautiful to be here again. I was last in Melbourne about 10 years ago, but the time has flashed by, and I didn't realise it was that long. And my two brothers have spoken beautifully. And I'd like to pick up on something that both of you have shared. Firstly, a story. And you spoke about narratives, and this story is a very simple one, and it's been around for a long time. And sometimes you hear the same story and you don't always apply it. But this story is very relevant to our times today. It's a story of a queen. You know how many stories begin with kings and queens. So this is a story of a queen who was looking for her garland, her special necklace, and she couldn't find it anywhere. She looked high and low and couldn't find it. Until someone reminded her, guess where it was? It was around her neck. You've heard the story. But when you spoke, Asher, about the peace that lies within, absolutely. So often we look for peace. We go on holidays searching for peace. We go here and there. We thought it was up on the mountain tops. We thought it was in the caves. We thought it was everywhere except looking inside. And so it eluded us. But it is very simple. Because when I go on that inner journey, and it could be called meditation, contemplation, reflection, whatever label. But when I go on that silent journey within, that's when I realize that there's a sacred space inside in which there is peace. And it's available for absolutely every single human being. And when I do that, and I discover that peace, it's very beautiful because it's not just peace that I experience, but it opens a door to many, many other treasures. And I'm able to find that through that experience of peace, there is love, there is truth, there is joy. And most of all, there's the beauty of purity and innocence. Living in the world today, you think that all these things are very far away and out of reach. But peace is the beautiful messenger that reminds us that once I connect with that, then I discover all of these other treasures within also. And maybe what we have to do is to not just remember this in meditation and prayer and contemplation, but is it possible for us to remember that we are that being of peace and express that peace in our thoughts, our words, and our actions? When I experience peace in my thoughts, then that can serve the world. The power of vibrations and the power of thoughts reach out beyond all boundaries and barriers. And I think that beautiful story of Salva that you shared, I think it might well have been the prayers that were reaching her and the good wishes that were reaching her. And so definitely, especially through the period of COVID, we had many people say to us, phone us, write to us saying, can you please send God's light and love, the light of the divine, to one I love, this one, that one, many others. And then sometimes we get feedback that the loved one had passed away, but that time that they had sharing peace gave them peace and stability even after bereavement. And sometimes we have very good news that the person had recovered and it had not been thought possible. But definitely the power of prayer, the power of silence, of meditation can reach far beyond any walls. And so each one of us can serve through our thoughts. Sometimes we feel that we can't do anything because I don't have the time, I don't have the capacity, I don't have the resources, maybe I don't even have good health. But how long does it take to send one thought of love and good wishes? And that's all we need to do. So we can serve with our thoughts. If there's peace within, we can share those thoughts of love and compassion in words. Sometimes we pass people by and we don't have time to give them a smile. We don't have time to exchange a few words with them. And if I can spend those few minutes just with an individual, and maybe longer when I can, that also is sharing peace and love. And if there's a little act of kindness that I can do each day, then that also is sharing peace with someone in need. Kindness doesn't cost anything at all. Giving someone a smile is not even a question of time, but it's a question of intention. And if I realize that I'm here to be an instrument to share peace, then as an instrument, I'm connecting with the source, and from that source, whatever is needed is able to reach me, but also reach out to others too. Through that period of COVID, we saw many heroic acts. We saw many scenes of tragedy. But I also saw how people who were engaged in intense service of others felt that they had run dry. It was as if there was a compassion deficit, that they couldn't do any more. They had done so much, they had given so much. And maybe there's a way to be able to overcome this. Instead of trying to be someone who gives myself, can I be an instrument? And if I'm an instrument, then there's an unlimited source that I can connect with, and I receive what I need, but I can also be an instrument to allow that to share with many others. And so I think that it's just that awareness of who I am. We forget. We get caught up in the physical identity and position and possessions and all the things of the material world. And we forget that we are actually, whether we remember or not, we are actually spiritual beings. And in that awareness of our own spirituality, we're connecting with the source, but we're also connecting with our own inner treasures. And so truly we can become peacemakers. In situations in today's world, there are so many challenges that come to try and shake that peace. But there was something very lovely I read the other day, and that is, can I have that faith in myself that at the start of my journey, I was a being of peace, and I am a being of peace, but I've forgotten, and all I have to do is remind myself and remember. But also, when there's a lift has four sides. And so the first is to remember who I am. The second is to remember the source, the divine, from whom we can receive unlimited treasures. And the third is to have faith in each other, that we are one family, and each one of us has a very, very special, unique role to play. If you look at a tree, it's many leaves on any one tree, but maybe as a child you tried it, and if not, I hope you find a moment to try it, even though we're adults, we're still children at heart. no two leaves will be identical. When it's human production and we use machines, then we want things to be exact. But when it's nature, everything about nature is unique. And no two leaves are the same, but equally, no two human beings are identical. Each one absolutely unique, carrying special treasures with which they can contribute further to humanity. And so when I have that trust and faith in my family, not a little family, but my unlimited family, then I see each one with that vision. And the fourth, I believe time is on our side. Why? Because although there are huge forces of darkness, but there's also an awakening that's beginning to happen. Young people, they're very aware of things that I wasn't when I was their age. But also, this whole idea of looking at things from a holistic perspective, we didn't think about that 50 years ago, but in the last 20 years or so, whether it's holistic health, or whether it's holistic architecture, holistic education, more and more we're beginning to think about things from a holistic perspective. I remember travelling from South Africa to London with Jayanti. Some of you who are here know her, you've mentioned it to me earlier. And she was my mentor, but also my friend, my mother, spiritual mother. And we were travelling together, and these are the days when smoking was still allowed on aeroplanes. And the whole night she was coughing because of the smoke, and there was nothing I could do about it. There was no other space to take her. And I thought to myself, is it possible for a time to come when people don't smoke on planes because it's such a confined space? And how long did it take to change that? It didn't take very long. It was amazing. People thought it would take a long time to change that culture. But within a very short space of time, it changed. And so, if we can make things like that happen, yes, surely, if all of us think about peace and come to that awareness that we are beings of peace, that's also part of the awakening. I met a Prime Minister recently, and she was talking about time for the self. She was talking about how leaders need time for themselves to be able to reflect. Now, again, 20 years ago, I don't think a political leader in position at this time would have made a statement like that. So things are changing. Time is definitely on our side. And I think as more and more light enters the world through each and every one of us, but also when there's a gathering, that energy, that light multiplies in a magnificent way. So I believe that even a minority who believes these things and practices these things can make change happen, because when a minority reaches a point of critical mass, things flip around and the majority begins to believe and understand. The last thing I want to share, there's a beautiful expression that comes in one of the scriptures in India, and it states that our Swadharma is Shanti. Swadharma, the original state of being. Dharma can be religion, dharma can be a way of life, but it also means a state of being. And so it's talking about our original religion, our original state of being is peace.